Hey, this is Kenny Hart with Geometrics Technologies. I'm going to do another Polyworks tip for you. This one's going to involve setting up a custom report format for yourself, for your company, or a particular customer. You can have your default format repeat the same, one over and over again that you deem to be the one you want to go with. So we have to actually create a report first. So at least the easiest way for me is to do that. So I've got all my features here. Everything is, all my measurements and everything are extracted. So we're going to go ahead and start creating a inspection report. The first thing I do is just decide what features I want to project to that report, and I'll usually take a snapshot and then put a data table underneath that. So I like this shot here. It shows all the dimensions I'd like. If I have multiple angles, maybe I want to replicate a 2D drawing or something like that, we can take multiple snapshots. I'm just going to do one. So it just literally involves you getting your annotations in the right spot, getting your orientation correctly, and then you come up here to the top under Capture 3D Scene and click that button that looks like a camera. So this is going to prompt Polyworks to create a report. And you have the option here now to go ahead and put in a report title. So I'm just going to call this Timing Cover Inspection. Okay, author, I'll go ahead and put my name in. Here we go. And when I click Apply and click Close, we now have a formatted report under our tree. And if I go to double click on that, or I could toggle here for Report Editor, there we go, we've got our first 2 pages. So the first page by default, there's our title or author, so my name there, and then the date. The Capture 3D Scene, so by default, Polyworks puts this Capture 3D Scene in there. So we're going to utilize that, but if you don't want that in there, you could always delete it, and then you can have your own snapshot, whatever you want to do there. So we'll go over that. If I come back down here, I can see the report. Now, if I want my image to be a little larger, this takes the capture of the entire 3D scene. If I want to adjust this, I can right click on it and say crop, and I can pull those edges in. And what this gives me is just the ability to expand my boundaries a little further, so I can put that in the corner and pull this down and make a larger snapshot. So we're going to bounce back over to the 3D scene. All right. And from there we can decide, well, we don't even have to do that, because if we're going to put a table in the report, we're going to then select the features in the tree. I'm just holding Control and selecting all the features that have measurable deviations within them that I want to see in the report. I'm going to choose all those, and let's just go back over to the Report Editor. I'm going to come up here to the Create Report Tables and click that. And that should throw a table down here with all those features. So I got my datum feature, so datum plane A has a flatness and C has a positional tolerance as well as a diameter. We've got a couple other features, my distance and angle features. So those are basically the features that are reflected in this snapshot. That's what I like to do, is have a snapshot of a certain image and those data features, and then maybe next page have another one if need be. You can put all the features in one table, doesn't matter. That's all up to you. All right, so for the last thing I have here, if I go back to 3D Scene, I do have this deviation color map. And so I want to show that in my report as well, along with the statistics for it. So there's 2 ways I can do that. I could just take the snapshot and then hit that data table. But because Polyworks has by default that capture scene for the first page, I'm going to throw this on the first page. What I'm going to do first is get rid of, I'm going to hide my features. So I'm going to middle mouse click scroll wheel there. There's my color map. We can adjust the color map if we like. This looks pretty good. So we're going to go back to Report Editor, and I'm going to click on page 1. So I'm going to just directly click Capture 3D Scene and position this right in the middle and say Capture. So that's going to get thrown right here on my front page. If I want to add some more stuff to it, like if I want the statistics for that, I'm going to click on Deviation to Surface 1. And again, click my Create Report Tables. That'll throw it on a 3rd page. So you see there 1, 2, 3. I'm going to click on that, make that active. I'm going to drag that table to the front page. Try and compress this report down as much as possible. Left click, delete page 3. Okay, I don't need that anymore. And I want to fit this all on the first page. So we've got a couple of options. One, I can move this up, but because it's kind of blocking the screen, again, I'm going to do the same thing where I right click on it, crop, and just, kind of pull this in. And that'll let me fit more stuff on this front page. I do prefer to take my own snapshot because it just kind of eliminates this step where you have to sit, because the front, that snapshot takes up the whole page. But there we go. So now I can put it up here, and then I can fit my chart underneath it. So if I pull this a little bit larger, now it's a little big, but there's a lot of stuff in here that I may not need. So this is where we get into some custom formatting, where like this chart, there's virtual surface, effective surface. Maybe I really don't care about having those in there, especially since they're blank fields. To edit your table, we can right click and say edit table. And you can see we've got these different features here, and we have features with little crosses through them. So these are things that are available that are not shown in the table. And all of these, as well as down here, so we've got your, up here distances, and then these are yours, you can see their first, second, third deviation, standard deviations statistics for your actual measurement points. Those we can check. So reference virtual surface, I'm going to click on it and say ignore, and you see it's going to remove it from the table. Reference effective surface, same thing, ignore. If there's anything else in there that you really don't care to see, whether the name, we've got the name in there, but if you don't want to show, how many points you've actually taken, maybe that doesn't mean anything, so we're going to say ignore. And that'll let us compress our table down quite a bit, so then we can more easily fit everything in this front page. There we go. All right, so we've got all that there. If I want to go to the second one, again, we've already cropped this into place. There's nothing I really have to do in this table. But you can, same thing if you edit a table. Another thing you can do here is if you don't like what's in the table, let's say you don't really care about how much out of tolerance, or you don't want this test, pass or fail, or you just don't want any of this stuff in here. Like, you can click on that and drag it out, and you can see it makes an X. If I were to release my mouse, it would remove that from the table. So I don't need to see that. So yeah, there we go. We don't have it in there anymore. If you want to add them back in, you can do that. But I'm going to click close, and then I've got everything compressed here a little bit. So that's editing all of our features within our report. Now we want to edit the report format. All right. So I'm going to come up here, and there's a few different places to edit this stuff. So one, we've got a couple of these images at the top. So it's Polyworks, so we've got Metric, the company name, and then Polyworks, the software. If you want to add, maybe what I like to do is add the customer's name here, and I'll usually put, maybe they want to see the Polyworks logo or what the software is created in, or what this report's created in. But I also want to include my company, so usually I'll put Neometrics up here at the top left. All right, and then there's all these custom fields down here that if I were to double click, the names we can actually type in. We'll get to this in a little bit, but these are actually referenced other places. So there's a bunch of ways, there's a bunch of different ways to do this, and this is where people get a little confused. If I want to just add in this box, my, let's say a customer name, I can hit delete, and that takes that metric away. And then if I do insert images from file, I'm going to grab, I'm just going to do two Neometrics logos. So we're going to do, let's grab the big N, throw it in there, and we're going to compress that down until it fits in that logo. So like I said, maybe that's your customer logo, maybe it's your logo, whatever you want there. The top up here, I could just go insert and then, insert a new feature. So this is kind of a variable thing. You can just do it just like this. To get the background, you actually have to right click and say edit background. And then that'll allow you to edit any of this stuff, so you can edit how this looks, you know, your border, all that stuff. If you want things tied to the background itself, this is where we can edit things. So if you want the Polyworks logo or you want to adjust it, you know, we can move it around. I'm just using the left and right keys. You can make it larger, smaller, whatever you want to do. If you want to add your logo as well to the background, we're going to do the same thing. Images from file, and I'm going to grab this one from us. All right, go there. We're going to go ahead and size it. We can move it around, make it look, you know, however we want to with our left and right mouse keys, or drag it. Once I'm done, I'm going to right click and say exit background editing. And so now those features are locked. So you could even put that in there, but again, that's usually a kind of a variable logo for me. So to take one less step out, or one more step out, I should say, I'll just leave that in the standard formatting. All right, so the bottom here, we've got all these different fields that we can input in certain areas to project to our report. All right, because again, I can type in what the field is right here directly, just like I can input, I can directly delete this image. But if I want to alter what's over here, I could type it in, but there's better ways to do it. So to get to this, if I click, you can see project part, piece part. So there's a few ways to add or to reference those, and there's two different areas. They're kind of both, you can find them in the same spot. I usually just click on this button, but there's report properties, and there's piece properties, and then there's project properties. So report properties is under file properties. Those are the same ones we saw earlier. So title, author, we can add in a third one there if we want. I'll go over that in a minute. We can go to project properties under file project properties. And then to get to the piece properties, so the properties of the individual part that you're inspecting, we're going to click right here. You can also jump, which I usually just use this icon because you can jump back and forth between project and pieces right here. So I usually just click this button, it makes it easy. Okay, so for device, if I look over here, I can see all these different fields that are inputted. For device, I'm just gonna, let's say I scan this with the Creative Farm HandyScan Black and Wheat. All right, we'll punch that in there. And when I left click, you can see it populates down in our report. All right, serial number. I don't have a serial number for the specific part, so maybe you do NA, order number, same thing, drawing number, you might have that as well. Those are found in different areas, so I'm gonna punch in everything here. Operator name, which is over here. Again, I scanned it, so I'm gonna go ahead and punch my name in there. But if you have a specific operator that does all your scanning, you can just save it as a default name. Our email address, let's punch that in. There we go, Kenny@neometricstech.com. And everything there is inputted. So I got a few blank fields, order number, again, I'll do NA, but right now I don't have anything, I believe, here that references that. So now I'm going to change, those are for each individual scanned piece. Now if we want an overall project property adjustment for some of the different fields for that, we can again click on project in the drop down, and now I got organization. So this may be the customer name, however you want to apply it. Maybe your name, you can put in, I can put in. All right, there we go. So we'll just add that. So I do have customer name here, and we'll just type in customer. There we go. All this stuff that we can put in production order, part number, part number 1, part name, timing, cover, all right, and then part drawing number. Just punch whatever will be in there. So now you can see all of these fields are inputted. Okay, I'm going to click close, and that's on the title page. Now when we go to page 2, it gets a little bit different. It actually becomes part of the background, these fields, because there's less of them by default, and I can't click on them. So if I double click, same thing with the page number over here, the date, all that stuff is part of the background. Okay, so that's all driven again by those properties. So if I want to edit these, I can right click and say edit background, just like I did with that image at the top. All right, so maybe on this page I don't care necessarily about the part number. Maybe I've got on this side organization, author, your email, so all my information. Maybe on the other side I want part name, customer name, and then the piece number, so whichever piece it is. So here, just like the first page, I can double click and I can say customer, okay? And then for this, I've got this text field. So this is kind of the format to link. You can't just type it in though, you do have to link it. So I've got this text box here, it's empty. I can right click and I can say insert, and that would be let's see if it is a project property because I cannot remember. Yep, customer name right there. So if I click that and then left click in place to set it, I now have a customer name put in there. So if I go to exit background, you can see that punches through. So now I've got my information on the left side, customer's information on the right side. If there's another field that you want to add, you can add one to any of these different areas. I'm just going to do it because it's very quick and easy from the report properties. So let's just add something. I'm just going to call it example. Okay, so I've added a new field, and let's example 1. Okay, I'm going to click apply. So that's created a new field that's available. So now what I can do is I can either insert and I can make something just in the report, or I can make it part of the background. Remember, the background is the same thing. You just right click, edit background, and then you can right click and say create text field. Now if we're going to create one, we want it to be fixed for the most part. The variable text field, it's the same thing as if you go up here and go to insert text field. The fixed is actually, you can have that tied to the report or any of the other settings, so they can be adjustable, they can be customizable based on what's in your report. A variable field is more for when you're doing scripting type of things where you're actually writing macros. So we're going to stay away from that here. We're just going to do text field. I'm going to throw it in here. And for the first one, let's just call it, let's label it. All right, example. And I'm just kind of punching it in here for the moment. We're going to make that bold. There we go. And I'm going to pare that down quite a bit. But I'm making it part of the background, so that way it can't just be edited right away. But I throw it right there. And then we're going to do another one. So again, you can either right click and say create text field, or you can insert text field as well. Both of them do the same thing. So create text field, another fixed one. And here's where it gets a little bit different. So, well, just like we did before, I can't just punch in the dollar sign, all that stuff. I do have to right click, insert, and then I made this in the report properties, and there's my custom one down here underneath all the others. It's example, and so that's going to actually link it to that property. All right, we're going to compress that down. Now when we're editing the background, I will actually show you the stuff right away, so we can kind of position this however we want. There we go. All right, I'm going to right click, say, down here, right click, exit background editing, and there we go. So there's our custom field. There's our edited and creative report. So maybe I like this format. I want to save this as the Neometrics format. Okay, I'm pretty happy with it. And I want that to repeat. Because if we go to just create a new project, it's just going to make a new Polyworks project. So to save this out, first of all, to save it out, we're going to say export format or report to PDF. That gets you this report out. Now if I want to save that format from here on out, we're going to go to File, Save as Layout. And that's we're in the report editor. I'm going to go to the desktop, Neometrics, Polyworks format. Okay, say save. All right, and then I'm going to come back to our tools menu, or come up to our tools menu, I should say, and we're going to say options. Okay, and we're going to choose, let's see if I get this here. I'm going to collapse display, and we're going to open objects. All right, if I go to reports, I click on the main tab, format a report. So there it is. I can go click these three dots, find our Polyworks format a report, open, and now when I click apply, when I go to make a new report, it's going to, or if I were to make a new report, or report 2, it would use that. Now that's going to change if I say okay, the very next project I do, it's not going to save that. So if I want to save that for good, I'm going to go to Tools, Save User Configuration. Your current configuration will be replaced. I'm going to say okay. And now when I make any new report, it's going to copy this exact same format. And that pretty much covers everything. There's a few more options, but those are the main hitters that I get a lot of questions on. So thanks for tuning in and watching this quick tip, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.